Chapter 30. At school, in English class, Mrs. Swan smiled when I handed in my thick stack of papers. "Doesn't it feel good to get all your work done?" she said. I wish I could give her my columns, then she'd see I'd been working all month, but I just smiled back. And Mrs. Swan turned to the rest of the class and clapped her hands. "All right, kids, our next unit is a group writing project." A group writing project? I furrowed my eyebrows. How's that going to work? I imagined me writing half a column and Lupe writing the other half, which was never going to work given what I wrote about in my first half. "Jason, you're working with Bethany," Mrs. Swan said. "What? No!" Jason protested. Bethany made a face too. "I don't want to work with him. He smells like paprika half the time." Jason held up a finger. "That would be cloves. Get your spices straight." I suppressed a chuckle. "And Mia," Mrs. Swan continued, "you'll be working with Dashaun." "Dashaun Wallace, Aka this month's most creative writer?" I spun around, but Dashaun's eyes were glued to his journal. He's probably writing a 5,000-line free verse poem shaped like a swan. Miss Swan finished pairing people off and then directed us to take our stuff and move seats. Reluctantly, I walked over to Dashaun. "Hey," I said. "Hey," he said back, barely looking up from his writing. I sat down in the seat next to his. "What's that writing?" "Nothing." He continued writing, and my eyes peeked over at his journal. Sheets of glazed ice that turned slightly metallic in the sunlight, like they're winking at you. Smiling on cold winter day when you can see your breath before you can feel it is what I remember the most about my old school. Wow, the imagery and details in flowery language. It was so beautiful. No wonder Miss Swan made him most creative writer. "That's really good," I said. He shrugged as he tore off the page, folded into 1,000 tiny squares, and put it in his Batman pencil case. "Not like I can do anything with it," he said. "At my old school, we had a student newspaper, but they don't have that here," he sighed. "You want to get published?" I asked. He nodded. You probably think that's stupid." "No, I think it's amazing," I said. Dashan looked up. I like writing too," I confessed. "Really?" Dashan asked. I nodded. "What kind of stuff do you like to write?" "Just really simple stuff about my life," I said, a little embarrassed. My sentences were such potato chips compared to his literary soulfulness. Still, it felt good to share my love of writing with somebody else at school. That was one of the things I missed the most about not having Lupe here. "You know, if you want to get published, there are ways," I added. "Like what?" I didn't exactly want to tell him about my column in China, so I said, "Maybe you could start a student newspaper." Dashaun shook his head. "They'd never go for that, not from some new kid." I put my pencil to my mouth, still thinking about Lupe. "You'd be surprised. My best friend always says, you can't win if you don't play." "I like that," Dashaun said. He jotted down the words in his journal, and I smiled, missing Lupe, her wonderful phrase that helped me so much this last couple of years. So much this last couple of years.